Please note that this information has been gathered from various sources. If you spot any inaccuracies, please comment below. We are standing on the edge of a monumental historical milestone. In just a matter of days, on the 21st of April 2026, the world will observe the centenary of the late Queen Elizabeth II's birth. The avenues of London are already humming with tributes, retrospectives, and grand preparations. Yet, amidst all the highly choreographed public declarations, the most profound statement came entirely without words. During a highly anticipated public engagement just hours ago, sharp-eyed observers noticed a brilliant flash of light on the wrist of Catherine, the Princess of Wales. It was the Edinburgh wedding bracelet, an Art Deco masterpiece of platinum and diamonds. The decision to wear this specific, deeply personal piece in the immediate shadow of the late Queen's 100th birthday is far from a mere fashion choice. It is a deliberate, poignant homage. But more importantly, Catherine's subtle gesture unlocks one of the most compelling mysteries ever hidden within the palace walls. When we think of the British royal family, we naturally envision vaults overflowing with unimaginable wealth. We picture billions of pounds locked inside state diadems, imperial state crowns, and historic rubies the size of quail eggs. Logic dictates that a reigning monarch would naturally favour the most spectacular, historically dominant pieces at her disposal. Yet, the reality of Elizabeth's reign tells a completely different story. The items she cherished most, the ones she kept within arm's reach for over 7 decades, were often pieces that never appeared on any official state inventory. They were not passed down by ancient kings. They were given to her by one man, Prince Philip, and he did not commission these pieces to simply decorate a sovereign. He forged them to protect his wife. To understand the true weight of these gifts, we must first understand the suffocating reality of the crown. The moment Elizabeth ascended the throne, she ceased to be entirely her own person. The institution of the monarchy is an entity that demands everything. It claims a sovereign's time, their image, their duty, and most ruthlessly, their absolute privacy. Every public appearance was a highly monitored performance. Every wave was measured, and every piece of jewellery she was handed by the state was heavy with political expectation and national duty. Prince Philip understood this reality better than anyone. He recognized early on that his wife was constantly wrapped in the heavy, unyielding armor of the state. He knew he could not take the crown off her head, nor could he alter the ancient constitution that bound her to a life of public service. So, he made a quiet, lifelong vow to create a different kind of armor for her. A private shield made of gold, platinum, and diamonds. Over the course of 73 years, Philip gave her gifts that served as a secret language between them, a language that entirely bypassed the grey-suited courtiers and the relentless lenses of the global press. In the upcoming segments, we will unravel the exact nature of this invisible shield. We will look at how he took the shattered remnants of his own family's fallen empire, the Russian Romanov diamonds, and transformed them into an engagement ring that served as an unbreakable anchor for her new reign. We will reveal how he carved out a tiny, impregnable fortress of privacy within a simple Welsh gold wedding band, hiding a message so closely guarded that no camera or royal aide ever discovered what it said. The story does not stop at the wedding altar. We will explore the silent heartbreak and profound compromise, etched into a seemingly traditional 5th anniversary bracelet, a piece of gold where Philip permanently surrendered his own soaring naval ambitions to walk 2 steps behind her. We will uncover how he later used a radically modern, texturally rough scarab brooch to actively rebel against the stifling aesthetic rules of the palace, reminding the world that his wife was not a static historical monument, but a living woman with an evolving, modern taste. And, perhaps most surprisingly, we will discuss an item that possesses no diamonds at all, a highly engineered, custom-built swivel kettle. A deeply practical invention born from a husband watching his wife's wrists grow tired from the endless demands of royal duty, proving that the most romantic gestures are often the ones that quietly eliminate our physical pain. These are not merely stories of royal wealth. They are the deliberate, calculated actions of a man who realized that the woman he loved was carrying the weight of the world, and decided to use every ounce of his intelligence, craftsmanship, and devotion to make that burden just a little bit lighter. The true story of Prince Philip's diamond shield is a masterclass in how to love someone who belongs to the world. Let us turn back the clock to the winter of 1947, to the very beginning of this silent conversation. The popular narrative often paints Prince Philip during this period as a man with empty pockets, a royal with no true kingdom of his own, entirely reliant on the grandeur of the British monarchy. This is a dramatic simplification. Philip was born a prince of Greece and Denmark. While his family had faced the harsh reality of exile and political upheaval, he possessed something far more significant than a vast bank account. He held the remnants of a vanished world. In a bank vault in Paris lay a magnificent diamond tiara belonging to his mother, Princess Alice. It was a wedding gift from Tsar Nicholas II and Tsarina Alexandra of Russia. It was a breathtaking piece of history, yet it carried the heavy memory of a dynasty that had been entirely swept away by revolution. Most men in his position might have simply sold the tiara to purchase a new ring, seeking a fresh, uncomplicated start. Philip did something far more profound. He made the deliberate decision to dismantle this final, glittering connection to the Romanovs. He sat down with the esteemed jeweler Philip Antrobus and personally guided the design of a 3-carat brilliant-cut diamond engagement ring, alongside a sleek, geometric Art Deco platinum bracelet made from the remaining stones. He did not hand Elizabeth a relic of a fallen empire. He took the surviving diamonds, stones that had endured the collapse of European monarchies and 2 world wars, and reshaped them into an anchor for her future. He took the trauma of his family's past and transformed it into a foundation for her reign. For the next 73 years, that ring never left her finger. It was a daily physical reminder that he had given her the very last of his heritage to build their shared destiny. As the young couple stepped out of Westminster Abbey on their wedding day, the reality of Elizabeth's future was undeniable. She was stepping into a lifetime where her every expression would be recorded, analysed, and broadcasted to millions. Absolute privacy for a sovereign is essentially a myth. Yet, Philip found a way to carve out a microscopic sanctuary that the public could never breach. Following royal tradition, Elizabeth's wedding band was crafted from a nugget of pure Welsh gold, but Philip added a hidden dimension. He arranged for a secret message to be engraved on the inside of the band. To this day, despite the relentless efforts of the media and the most dedicated royal historians, the exact wording remains a complete mystery. It is widely reported that only 3 people ever knew what it said: Philip, Elizabeth, and the engraver. In a life where she was forced to share everything with her country, Philip gave her a few millimeters of gold that belonged solely to her. No camera lens could capture it, no government official could read it. This deep desire to protect her personal space extended far beyond their wedding day. Hidden away from the official crown jewels inventory, never catalogued in the grand ledgers of state, was a simple metal makeup compact. Philip, who possessed a genuine passion for engineering and industrial design, drafted the floral patterns himself and commissioned its creation. It was not encrusted with priceless gems. It was not meant for state banquets or official portraits. It was a deeply personal object she could hold in her palm during the quiet, tense moments in holding rooms before facing crowds of thousands. It was a tangible piece of home, a subtle reassurance from her husband, hidden right inside her handbag, keeping the woman Lilibet grounded even as the Queen was summoned. If the Welsh gold ring and the compact were fortresses of privacy, other pieces served as a flawless archive of his memory. A man navigating the immense, relentless machinery of the state might easily be forgiven for forgetting the minor details of his wife's wardrobe. But Philip's devotion was built on meticulous observation. In November 1947, during the quiet days of their honeymoon at Broadlands, Elizabeth was photographed wearing a striking sapphire and diamond piece known as the chrysanthemum brooch. It was a bold, sculptural design, and she wore it with the relaxed radiance of a new bride. Fast forward exactly 60 years to 2007. The couple was preparing to release their official diamond wedding anniversary portraits. It was Philip who actively encouraged her to recreate that exact honeymoon photograph. And more importantly, he specifically recalled the jewellery. He suggested she wear the chrysanthemum brooch once again. In a life where the Queen was dressed by dressers, Advised by courtiers and surrounded by thousands of glittering artifacts, her husband remembered exactly what rested on her lapel during their first days of marriage. By asking her to wear it 6 decades later, he was utilizing the silent language of gems to make a profound statement. It was his way of looking at a sovereign whose face was printed on every banknote and telling her, without a single word, that he still saw the exact same woman he walked with in 1947. The true test of this dynamic, however, arrived much sooner than expected in 1952. With the sudden passing of King George VI, Elizabeth was instantly elevated to the throne. The shift in their reality was absolute. Philip was required to abruptly end his promising naval career, surrender his own surname, and walk 2 steps behind his wife for the rest of his life. For a man of action and ambition, this was an immense personal sacrifice. Later that same year, to mark their 5th wedding anniversary, he designed a striking gold bracelet with the House of Boucheron. The design intricately linked their initials E and P, but it also prominently featured his naval badge. To the outside world, it was a beautiful anniversary gift. To those who look closer, it is a golden record of his ultimate compromise. He encoded the career he surrendered into a piece of jewellery for her to wear, silently stating that while his days commanding ships at sea were over, his duty to her was absolute. He wore his sacrifice on her wrist. This protective instinct, this desire to physically lighten her load, was never more evident than on the most public day of her life, her coronation in June 1953. While this does not involve a piece of jewellery he designed, it directly involves the most famous jewel she would ever wear, the Street Edwards crown. Weighing nearly 5 pounds, the solid gold crown is a literal, physical manifestation of the crushing weight of antiquity. As a 27-year-old woman, Elizabeth was required to bear this weight while navigating the exhausting, hours-long ancient rituals of the Abbey. Philip could not change the constitution, nor could he alter the weight of the crown itself. However, as the highly active chair of the Coronation Commission, he possessed the power to orchestrate the environment around her. He approached the ancient ceremony not just as a royal duke, but as a logistical engineer. He relentlessly analyzed the pacing of the event, the placement of the thrones, and the physical movements required of his wife. He actively streamlined the archaic protocols behind the scenes, fighting against traditionalist courtiers to ensure the grueling physical demands placed on her body were minimized wherever possible. He was the unseen mechanic operating beneath the floorboards of the Abbey. As she sat weighed down by the sovereign's heavy gold, Philip's meticulous planning ensured she would not break under the strain. He could not carry the crown for her, but he engineered the day so she could endure it. His role, however, extended far beyond merely observing or engineering her environment. He was the active architect of her personal collection. Philip did not rely on the royal household to source gifts for the Queen. He viewed the creation of jewellery as a disciplined craft. Returning once more to the esteemed Parisian house of Boucheron, he commissioned another profoundly personal piece, a heavy, magnificent ruby and diamond floral bracelet. He was deeply involved in the design process, ensuring the geometry and the weight of the piece met his exact, rigorous standards. The choice of rubies is particularly telling. The British crown jewels are dominated by the cold, blinding light of white diamonds and the deep, sovereign blues of historical sapphires. Rubies, with their rich, vibrant warmth, carry an entirely different resonance. By designing a dense floral motif dripping with these crimson stones, Philip was injecting a current of pure, unapologetic romance into her highly structured life. He understood that while the state required her to be a symbol of unwavering stoicism, she still required the tangible warmth of a husband's affection. The ruby bracelet was not an antique handed down by an ancestor. It was a contemporary pulse of passion, crafted specifically for her wrist, serving as a bright, private rebellion against the necessary coldness of her public duty. As the decades progressed, Philip's gifts began to serve an entirely new purpose. He used them to gently push back against the rigid, sometimes overly traditional expectations of the palace. In 1966, he presented her with the scarab brooch, crafted by the modern British jeweller Andrew Gremer. Carved from textured organic yellow gold and set with a rough cluster of rubies, It looked nothing like the highly polished, classical diamonds normally associated with the Queen. There have always been quiet whispers in royal circles that some of the more traditional courtiers found these modern pieces jarring, a slight disruption to the expected, highly formal royal aesthetic. Philip completely ignored those unspoken boundaries. By encouraging his wife to wear such bold contemporary art on the global stage, he was reminding the institution that the Queen was allowed to have her own evolving, vibrant taste. He was giving her permission to step outside the velvet ropes of tradition. Yet, of all the gifts he commissioned, the most remarkable one contained no precious metals at all. During her endless royal tours, Philip noticed a very specific, recurring problem. After shaking thousands of hands and waving to countless crowds, the Queen's wrists would grow incredibly tired, making the simple act of lifting a heavy silver teapot painful. He did not issue a public statement or complain to the staff about her grueling schedule. Instead, he quietly returned to his drafting table and engineered a custom kettle mounted on a swivel stand. It allowed her to tilt and pour her tea without ever having to lift the weight of the pot. This is the absolute peak of practical devotion. He paid attention to the smallest details of her physical discomfort and used his own ingenuity to fix it without fanfare. To fully grasp the magnitude of this invisible shield, we must look at where these items resided when they were not being worn. The crown jewels, the staggering collection of state diadems, sovereigns' orbs, and scepters, are famously locked away under heavy armed guard in the Tower of London. They belong to the nation, brought out only for the most solemn constitutional occasions. They are magnificent, yet entirely cold. Philip's gifts, however, lived a completely different existence. They were kept close. They resided in the Queen's private dressing rooms, traveling with her on royal trains and flights across the globe. They were not state property to be guarded by soldiers. They were personal talismans guarded by affection. This dichotomy between the public crown and the private shield is where the true depth of Philip's devotion is revealed. Consider the sheer physical endurance required to be the Queen of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. Every step Elizabeth took in public was meticulously choreographed. She could not express political opinions, she could not show exhaustion, and she certainly could not display vulnerability. In a life defined by such rigid boundaries, the jewellery Philip designed acted as a constant, tactile rebellion. When she reached into her handbag, and her fingers brushed against the metal of the custom makeup compact, she was, for a fraction of a second, touching the hands of her husband. In a room full of prime ministers and foreign dignitaries, that small, uncatalogued object was a lifeline back to her true self. To understand the true permanence of what Philip created, one must look past the public engagements and peer into the quiet, meticulous world of royal archiving. Today, long after the final notes of the Queen's funeral have faded and the mourning period has become history, these personal items rest in the highly secure, temperature-controlled vaults. But unlike the grand state swords or the sovereign's rings, which are accompanied by centuries of heavy vellum documentation detailing their political transfers, Philip's gifts carry an entirely different aura within those silent rooms. They are the surviving artifacts of a private universe. When archivists handle the Andrew Grima scarab brooch or the intricately carved metal makeup compact, they are not merely preserving state history, they are preserving the fingerprints of a deeply personal devotion. Philip did not just walk into a Mayfair jeweller and point at a display case. He was notorious among London's finest craftsmen for his exacting standards. He would sit at the drafting tables. He would examine the raw, unpolished Welsh gold, a material famous for its distinct, warm, rosy hue, mined from the deep, damp rock of the Clogau St. David's mine. He understood the metallurgical properties of what he was commissioning. He knew that platinum, the metal he chose for the engagement ring, and the Edinburgh bracelet, is one of the most durable, unyielding materials on Earth. It does not tarnish. It does not easily bend. It holds diamonds with a grip that can last centuries. By choosing platinum to cradle the dismantled Romanov diamonds, he was making a metallurgical promise of endurance. This level of technical obsession is the very antithesis of the performative romance we often see in public life. As we stand here in mid-April 2026, the historical weight of these objects comes into razor-sharp focus. We are witnessing a transition of this silent language to the next generation of the monarchy. When Catherine, the Princess of Wales, stepped out wearing the Edinburgh wedding bracelet this week, she did not need to give an interview or release a press statement to convey her message. The bracelet did the talking. By choosing the exact piece of platinum and diamonds that Philip crafted from the ruins of the Romanov Empire to anchor Elizabeth's reign, Catherine is visually accepting the mantle of that endurance. She recognizes that the survival of the monarchy does not solely depend on the grand, glittering state banquets or the flawless execution of ancient ceremonies. It depends on the quiet, unyielding support the members of the family offer one another behind the heavy oak doors of the palace. The bracelet on her wrist is a promise that the protective shield Philip forged for Elizabeth is now being carried forward to protect the future of the crown. There is a tendency in modern culture to demand that love be loud. We expect grand public declarations, viral moments, and transparent displays of affection. Yet, the story of Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth II stands as a towering monument to the exact opposite. Theirs was a love story written in the margins of history, encoded in the underside of a gold ring and the intricate clasp of a naval-inspired bracelet. Philip did not buy his wife's affection with the boundless wealth of the British Empire. He used his intellect, his distinct aesthetic vision, and his unwavering observation to build a sanctuary around her. The narrative of Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth II is often reduced to a simple tale of duty, and duty alone. We are told they served their country with a stoic resolve that left little room for personal indulgence. But the contents of Elizabeth's private jewellery boxes tell a fiercely different story. They reveal a man who refused to let his wife be entirely consumed by the crown she wore. Through sketches, gold, and quiet engineering, he built a silent, unassailable sanctuary around her. He ensured that no matter how loud the crowds roared, no matter how heavy the expectations of the nation became, she would always have something resting on her collarbone, slipping around her wrist, or tucked inside her handbag that reminded her she was truly and exclusively loved.